Thank you for your patience. Let's begin our fourth and final panel discussion of the day. Our final topic is Healthy Longevity, Global Perspectives and Approaches. Moderating this session is Mr. Michael Ringel, Chief Operating Officer, Life Biosciences. Joining us on the panel are Ms. Patricia Deberg, Program Director, National Research Council of Canada. Mr. Peter Julius, CEO, Public Intelligence. Dr. Naoki Kondo, Professor, Kyoto University, and Ms. Rie Yano, co-creator of Vitalist Bay and venture partner at Coral Capital, House Authentic. Now, Mr. Ringel, over to you.
Thank you. Can I get the slides up, please? Perfect. So I'm Michael Ringel. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Life Biosciences, a biotech company working to rejuvenate cells and address age-related diseases through that. It's taking the technology out of David Sinclair's lab at Harvard and bringing it to fruition. It's my pleasure to host what is an amazing panel with some incredible panelists. But before we start the panel, I'm actually going to share a few slides to set the stage with some data. And this slide is a great starting point. It's a survival curve, also called a Kaplan-Meier curve. And what you see is, starts at 100% survival and then goes down eventually to 0. And what's plotted here are 4 different cohorts. And you can see that over the last 150 years, there's been incredible progress in improving the shape of that curve, largely through sanitation, vaccination, and reduced infant mortality. But there are 2 kinds of gains that are still missing and very important to do. The first is health span, the quality of those years, especially as you get further out. And the second is lifespan. Despite the improvements we've made so far, we haven't changed the maximum, but there's now exciting science to suggest that that's now possible. Additionally, these 2 things are actually linked, health span and lifespan. And to see that, this slide illustrates it. So what's charted here is the incidence of different age-related diseases going up with age. And you can see that it goes up and actually exponentially so. It's actually the #1 risk factor for the vast majority of disease is how old you are. What you see here are cancer, cardiovascular disease, dementia, diabetes. These are really scourges of humanity. There's more than 300 other diseases that go up in this way, plus just general frailty. And historically, we haven't thought about the age you are as an intervention point to reduce the rate of disease. But if, in fact, it becomes possible to decouple biological age from chronological age and move where you are on this x-axis, potentially slow it down, maybe even reverse it, then that becomes a single intervention that not only can address lifespan, but by moving where you are on this axis, also address health span, the burden of disease and disability. Is there any reason to believe that's possible? There's actually significant evidence emerging. The first are genetic variants. This is an example from worms. This is, again, a survival curve, a Kaplan-Meier curve. In white is the survival for worms normally. And the black line is worms with a single mutation in a gene called DAF2. Not only extends their lifespan, it doubles it, but it also improves their health span throughout that period. DAF2 is a gene in nutrient sensing related to caloric intake. It's also true in pharmacological interventions. This is an example in mice run by the National Institute of Aging in the US. Again, this is a survival curve. The black line is normal. The red line is just taking a single drug called rapamycin, extends lifespan, and again, extends their health span throughout this period. And rapamycin also addresses this a target called mTOR, which is downstream of DAF2 in nutrient sensing and caloric intake. And then there's also data from epidemiology. This is in humans. You can see there's an inverse relationship between the amount of calories and lifespan across some Japanese populations, sumo wrestlers, mainland Japanese, and Okinawans at the other end of the spectrum. Okinawa, obviously a very famous blue zone. Pretty much all the blue zones have relatively low caloric intake. Now, you don't want to go too far. If you go below that, you get malnutrition, and that's fatal. But there's a similar relationship as long as you're within this range. So lots of reason to believe that it's possible to manipulate lifespan. There's also a lot of reason to believe it's incredibly valuable. Now, many of us believe that it's just fundamentally morally valuable. Life and health have value. That's all you need to say. But beyond that, there are many other sources of value, including financial. A number of serious economists have looked at this, and all have shown that it's actually worth trillions of dollars through three main sources. The first is more addition to GDP. If people are healthier longer, they can work longer if they want. They can act as consumers longer, and that drives the economy. Less reduction from GDP by delaying and shortening the period that you need to draw down healthcare benefits and other entitlements. And then the value of life itself, which you might say is infinite, but the economists use a numerical value that they apply to this calculation as well. Okay, so that's a brief overview. Tremendous reason to be optimistic that we can address lifespan and health span, tremendous value in it, but also some pitfalls. And so to talk about how we go navigate between those and get the, all the benefits without those pitfalls, please join me in welcoming our panelists, and I'll give their introductions one by one, but please join me in welcoming to the stage. Well, thank you, panelists, for joining me. Very excited to have you. So let me just do a quick introduction. So Patricia de Berg is director of the Aging in Place Challenge Program, part of the National Research Council of Canada. The program supports the choice of older Canadians to age in place within their homes through technology and innovation. Prior to this role, she led a research section on medical device research, working on digital health, virtual care, and real-time surgical training simulations. Peter Julius is CEO of Public Intelligence in Denmark, which he founded in 2007. He focuses on a better life for people in need of care, and is also an expert with Living Lab, seeking to drive innovation in this space. Naoko Kando is professor of social epidemiology at Kyoto University. He's a physician focused on the social determinants of health and ensuring equity. And he is also on the WHO's Technical Advisory Board on social connection. And then Ria Yano is co-creator of Vitalis Bay and a venture partner at Coral Capital. She is also an entrepreneur who had a successful prior exit with Material World, a fashion trade-in program platform, and is now focused on longevity, AI, and robotics. So please join me in welcoming them again to the stage. So I'm going to start with a very broad, open question, and I'll start with you, Patricia. I would love to hear about what you do and how your organization supports healthy longevity.
Thank you. Thank you for the organizers. Thank you for having me today. So I can briefly explain what the program I'm leading is about. So the National Research Council of Canada is Canada's premier research and development organization. So we have more than 2,000 scientists divided across the country and working on different domains. So the National Research Council of Canada has what we call different research centers, and they are divided into many different activities, and it goes from medical devices to digital technologies or construction, astronomics, very, very diverse. So when we created the program, which is called Aging in Place, and really aging in place from a technology and innovation perspective, it was about trying to rally the expertise of all those scientists from the NRC, but also in partnership and in collaboration with other scientists and industry in this domain to tackle that particular challenge of aging and most particularly aging in place, because we know that's the primary choice of people to continue to live in their homes and in their community. And so it's really looking at that particular challenge through those many different lenses. So it's not just about, for example, health and safety, but it's also looking at aging in place from transportation accessibility, for example, or even dwellings and construction and environmental conditions to favor aging in place. So that's kind of what we do. We try really to see how we can support the development of technologies towards that choice of people to continue to live in their homes, and it's looking at that also from three particular aspects or areas of impact. So it's how can we support aging in place from a very holistic and life course approach. So has a lot to do with preventative measures, so technology to prevent transitions in care, because we know that when we experience transitions in care, you may experience difficulties to kind of go back in time and go back to your previous state. So those prevention measures like technology to prevent, to detect early on like certain diseases or disabilities, and that's kind of one area that we are focusing on. And also enablement. So you have comorbidities, you have different disabilities or diseases that you are living with, and you want to continue to live with those. I mean, and how can you live your best life basically with those challenges? And that's another part of the program, is how you can leverage technologies to do so. And at the end, the last one is really about the social infrastructure and everything around you that can help you to continue to live and add life to the years and not years to your life, basically.
It's a great saying. It came up in the panel before. It's just how much people value the freedom of aging in place and the optimism with technology. Peter, tell us about public intelligence.
I'd love to. I have to start by saying I'm an optimist, but I'm an optimist because I think the healthcare system is breaking down all over the world. So when things break down, we can invent it again. And I definitely do think we need to reinvent how we do things. I'll start by talking about quality of life. That is why we live long, is to have quality. So the quality of life is important for everyone, and it's very individual. So what is important for me and gives me quality is maybe not the same for you, Patricia. You're from Canada. I'm from Denmark. Denmark has the population size of Osaka, 6 million inhabitants. Denmark is maybe one of the smallest countries in the world. We are also a welfare society. So in order to actually do something and have a voice in the world, we need to collaborate. So that's what we do. We collaborate. We are not Vikings anymore. Now we collaborate through business and collaborative innovation. So we are 6 million people, and we all try to work together and have impact. That's why our company name is Public Intelligence. We combine all the intelligence we have in Denmark. So we work closely together with our health and care sector to do innovation. We try to talk about transformation, because a lot of people ask us about technology. And I'm maybe one of the few who says I'm not really into technology. I'm into transformation. So if you can bring technology to the world where we can transform our systems, I think we will be in a better place. That's what we do. We have called it Living Labs because we like quadruple helix work, multi-stakeholder work, because change calls for a multi-stakeholder approach. So we have sort of been working that for many, many years. That's also what we do in Japan. So we try to tie two strong countries. Sorry everyone that is not Japanese on the panel. But I think Japan and Denmark are perfect when it comes to doing something together. So we insist stubbornly to keep collaborating with everyone who wants to collaborate with Denmark. That's what we do. It's about quality of life.
That's great. Naoki, I'd love to hear your follow-up on that.
Well, so I'm a social epidemiologist, and you may know that epidemiology is the study field to reveal the disease distribution using the statistical data. So my focus is the social determinants of health. So that means, like, for example, income, education, occupation, what job you are doing, that actually define your longevity to some extent. And also like a more like a social systems or the built environment, like how walkable your city is, or like that. For example, like you said, like, Denmark is quite welfare countries. Yeah, the welfare regime is a very strong determinant of longevity, actually, as far as social epidemiological evidence. So I want to contribute to achieve the healthy longevity, to create that kind of society in which individuals are naturally achieve the healthy longevity, not like strongly try to commit on like a physical exercises or those things. Yeah, that would be fantastic, right? Yeah, so that's Michael nicely addressed that there are some interventions that can be the genetic intervention and the pharmaceutical interventions. And what I want to do is social interventions, or making, for example, and recently we have focused on the somehow like old but new phenomena about health, that is social well-being, or the problem is like loneliness and isolation. We all, understand the importance of social connection during the time of COVID-19, right? Yeah. Then the WHO, as a member of the, the technical advisory board, WHO will launch a new report, the first report about social connections, quite soon. So there is an event worldwide soon, and they said, the WHO representatives say, the WHO constitution said in 1947 or 8, I forget, but the health is the complete status of physical, mental, and social well-being. But the current health systems have ignored the social well-being part over 70 years. So now it's time to address this issue with partners in the nationwide, worldwide. So I think the next report by the WHO will address those things to some extent. So please join us if you're interested in.
Yeah, it's super. I mean, you see how powerful the social determinants are in zip code level data within the U.S., even in things like people of Japanese descent who live in America, who have average lifespan and average health span of American, not of people who live in Japan. So obviously the genetics is the same, but the social environment has changed. Rie, you know both of these worlds very well, having deep ties in both the US and Japan. You also wear many hats with Vitalist Bay, Coral Capital. What are you seeing? What are you investing in? What has you excited these days?
Sure. So I just came out of Vitalist Bay, which was a 2-month-long ambitious effort that I like to call is the world's largest longevity zone. We launched this in the Bay Area. It was 60 days, 8 weekends, nonstop conferences, and more than 150 speakers around the world, who are all longevity experts, came to the Bay Area to talk. And the one goal of the event was to solve aging. And Michael, in your slide, as you mentioned, all of the diseases are caused by ultimately aging. And yet our belief, so Vitalist Bay was founded and organized by Vitalism, which is a 501c4 nonprofit. And we created a nonprofit because we felt that the issue to solve aging is so massive that starting one company here or there wouldn't really resolve the issue. And we actually wanted to bring everybody who is in this space together to understand how we can work towards it. And one of what we think are opportunities is that there's so little funding actually going into the space of lifespan expansion. If you look at the US, which is where I'm based, about 0.5% of NIH funding goes into longevity. That's nothing. And Vitalis Bay's goal was essentially to spark the next Apollo project or the next Manhattan project. So how do we get the state, the government, everybody involved in funding to solve aging? To do that, we brought together not just the researchers and the entrepreneurs and the investors, we also brought together policymakers, people who were working in the government, and we really, everyone had a very different approach and opinion. Some, didn't get along with each other, had very different opinions, but the goal of the venue was to really see if we can spark new innovations, and we tried to bring together the most high agency people. And so this was our first effort. We're going to continue doing it every year. And again, we're a nonprofit, so the goal really is, how do we do this? The theme that Vitalism has is, life is good, death is bad. That is it. Everyone should support this.
I love it. There's so many great themes about it. Just the focus on aging as the underlying root in more than 90% of mortality in the developed world and morbidity as well is an age-related disease. So if we can address aging, we can address a lot of diseases simultaneously. I also love your vision of a big tent that allows various ways to approach this. And maybe that's a good segue to the next question. Thinking about big tent, high tech, low tech, what are some of the ways that we can extend health span and lifespan, and what should be the right mix of those high and low tech? This is to anyone who wants to answer, and everyone.
Everyone wants to jump in. So now I started talking. So I think prevention will, for me, be the most important part. I think we try to think about prevention, prediction, and personalization when it comes to expanding the lifespan. Because as early as you can predict something, you can do an intervention. And if you understand personality, you can do an intervention that actually fits me. So the more you can get and tailor a service that fits me, the better life I will have. So I think that will be, for me, the core. And of course, that gives some issues, because in order to predict, you need to give up some of your data, because it's not just one thing you can measure. I think there was one mentioning that the data points, I think it was a lady from Google, said the data points are actually conversations from the entire body. And I think that's quite interesting. So you need to sort of mentally be ready to give up data, which can be quite difficult, in order to get the best predictive care you can have. So I think that's, for me, that will be the case.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm sure most of you have friends and family members asking you.
I can see your wearable on the back of your arm, in fact.
Yeah, or ring, what should I do to, live a healthier life? I'm sure everyone gets asked this question. And how I like to answer it is, well, first of all, everyone gets bombarded with all these amazing influencers and books and podcasts, but there's just so much information and not much clarity on what should be done. And I like to think of it, it may not be low tech, but there's really three things. One is there's data, there's diagnostics, and there's AI. And this may seem high tech, but I think in the past 5 years, all of this is becoming more low tech and accessible to everyone. So from a data perspective, because of all of these wearables, like the ones that I have on right now, a glucose monitor, Oura Ring for sleep, Whoop for performance, everybody can access their own personal data 24/7, right? So you no longer have to go to a doctor's office. The annual checkup in the US only gives you about 10 to 15 biomarkers, which is nothing. So then, first of all, there's that. Diagnostics is the second innovation, and a lot of this is actually led in the US by private markets. A lot of VC-funded companies that are going after this space and really supplementing the fact that the public healthcare system is not providing enough information to the end user. So you have companies like Function Health, Nucleus coming out and making it really accessible to have 100 biomarkers that you have readily available. Then the third is AI. So this is where it gets exciting, is in the past, if we had all this data, there's nothing we could do with it. It's like really hard to understand how to interpret it and take action. But now again, many companies are using AI, and you can also use ChatGPT yourself and really understand how to learn about your personal data set. And so before you follow any kind of influencer or try any kind of supplements or nutritional change, you can first get the baseline yourself and then decide, okay, what do I want to do? What's my goal? And let me measure myself.
What I wanted to make the link to Dr. Kondo here when he talked about like the importance of the social infrastructure, and this is in my opinion very much low tech, and the ability to have age-friendly cities and just not embrace older adults and let them live with the rest of the population and so that you continue to be part of the community, you continue to have a role to play in the community, and that's in my opinion as important as having other like higher technology to follow your your physical or your mental health, but this social aspect is something that is I agree very important, and I guess you can.
Thank you for addressing that thing. Yeah. So, but I think those social intervention is low tech and the data is like high tech. That is not contradictory. I think that can be harmonized very much. Yeah. So first of all, so I think totally agree with Patricia that so for example, the Japanese government is now investing annually like $250 million, I think, maybe equivalent. So it's a huge money to incentivize local municipalities to create the third places for older people to make a social gathering because there is evidence that if you go to those social gathering places that have the risk for disability and long-term care needs. So that is quite strong enough to prevent diseases and disability, and that can pay for that, the society, right? Then, so this is kind of low tech. Yeah, but actually some people like this kind of third place. In Japanese, it's called kayoi no ba, the place to go, or like that. And other people doesn't like that kind of places. So we need some matching between the characteristics or the places they are living in and the many types of third places. Actually, not only the third place, but like places for working actually, or many, anyway, some place to contribute to the society and connect it to the other people. Anyway, so how to matching those things, then data can be useful. So now it's for example, precision medicine is quite popular, right? Yeah, identifying the individual risks for disease by huge data, genetic data and behavioral data, but please add social data and daily life data as well. Then ask AI, is this guy, what's the ideal or potentially best third place for this guy is, or like that. That kind of data system as a high tech should be implemented in the future, in the near future.
It's a great point, and I think it goes back to Rie's point that what one person's high tech eventually becomes low tech, right? As it becomes part of just the natural course of business. But let's keep on this theme of some low tech interventions. I'd love to hear other ideas. There must be some great ones around aging in place. It's very hard to change your genetics. There's stuff you can do about it, but you can change your social, maybe not super easy, but to some degree.
It's also quite hard.
Yeah. But easier than changing your genes.
Yeah. Maybe we can
CRISPR may be changing that
maybe
at
we
some
can
point.
change genetics in 10 years, and we can talk about it again.
But
Yeah.
other low-tech ideas that folks would love to share?
I mean, it's low tech. I feel like for low tech, immediate impact, actually public health measures are much more impactful than the private markets. So for example, Japan is a great example. Walkable cities. Can the US make more walkable cities so people walk more? Right? Another one, the Japanese lunches. It's amazing. I take my kids to schools in Japan and the US and different countries. And in Japan, from a very young age, the meals at the cafeteria, you can see every single ingredient, and it's broken out into the grams of carbs, protein, and fat, and it's mapped out for a full month ahead. Now, if we had that level of nutrition diet in American school cafeterias, this would be pretty game-changing for healthy longevity.
Yeah, when we come to Denmark, the Japanese food is outstanding, but we walk a lot. So our cities are made for walking, and I think we have more bikes per capita than the rest of the world. Maybe the Netherlands can be part of that as well. But we have more than one per capita, so it's quite extreme. I have 3 bikes, so we need a lot of different bikes. But we don't eat as well.
You have to answer. Why do you have 3 bikes for yourself?
Yeah, but it's because we need different bikes to different types of cycling. You know, you exercise. It's fun to go bike riding, but not on an old bike. So you need a bit more speedy bike. But I think the combination of this could be design. We need to design cities. We need to design houses. We need to design furniture. We need to design everything. So it sort of stimulates us to do good and do good socially as well. So I completely agree with that part of being not lonely, feeling part of a community or society or group at co-workers or whatever it is. So I think we need to design and think, how can we, with low-tech and high-tech, create environments that support us and will become our friends. So in Denmark, we know that the arena for healthcare in Denmark and care in aging care is the home. Forget the hospitals. The hospitals in Denmark, that's bad business. And remember that we are only public in Denmark. 99 point something is public paid. So we're really a public paid tax country. So the home is where we should start thinking about how can we build houses that supports our daily living. It should be, if I stay in bed too long, my bed should throw me out of bed. If I don't visit my neighbor, the door should open and the rain should come in. So it needs to nudge me to behave and do good.
Okay, so I'm going to try and make this a little more controversial. So we all know the power of nudge, and there's great examples of this. I think maybe one started in Denmark, which is the organ donor on your driver's license, right? In the U.S., where in the states where the default is you're not a donor, less than 20% are organ donors. In the states where it's the default, more than 80% are. So very small nudges, things like having nutritionists in schools to help, educate around nutritional consumption, laws in New York around size of drink for sodas, fluoridation of water. So where do these nudges become appropriate, and where is the line between it's actually getting intrusive into the rights of the individual to make autonomous decisions? I'd love to hear reactions to this, especially from the epidemiologist who has some thoughts around, you work in this space around the social determinants. So how much can we engineer social?
Yeah. So the basic fundamental concept of nudging is to change environment in which the individuals can select the better choices, right? Yeah, I think, and for example, like Japan is maybe nice in terms of the nutritional environment, and Netherlands and Denmark is nice for like a bicycling or those things. So each environment have some advantages and disadvantages as well. And so I think you don't need to stick on the disadvantages too much. Just to utilize the advantages as potential the part of opportunity for nudging people. So I enjoyed actually cycling when last time I went to Netherlands last year. So that is quite interesting. Yeah, good. And Japan is been successful in a universal school lunch. And according to our research, so the universal school lunch reduced disparity in nutritional status by parental educational levels. So I think that is the advantage for Japan. Every places have that advantage and disadvantage. That stems on the cultural background of the area. So I think those intervention, whatever that is nudging or the building, the environment, that should be culturally and contextually valid. So I think this is a very important part. Don't try to nudge people without the how to say without the agreement by the citizens. So this is we are comfortable about those environment or not. That is very important.
It's very interesting. I was just thinking the U.S.'s strength is the risk-taking mentality. So, if the state were to subsidize, for example, GLP-1 agonizers like Ozempic, amazing way to do obesity management without the hard work, but make it an option. So, it's not like mandatory like COVID vaccines. And there will be more people, I think, in the US who would take it because of the risk appetite versus in countries like Japan, where you need to see a little bit more years of, is there going to be, something that comes down the line? I think we saw that there's a different appetite towards new drugs in different countries.
It's a super complicated question. I got confused inside myself, because I don't know what I want to answer, because you can take two choices. You can say, smoking kills. I know this is not good for the smoking industry, I'm very sorry. But we know that smoking kills, so we should ban smoking immediately. It will expand lifespan quite a lot. Can we do that? Do I smoke when I'm drunk? So even though that I know that social smoking, which is have a nice term, social smoking, it's conflicting inside me, because I know now I'm going to stand outside and smoke. So now I take away 20 days of my lifespan, but I still do it. It's complicated, super complicated. On the other hand, in Denmark, we have the discussion about freedom of choice. So we see that sometimes within the healthcare sector, we try to make people feel safe and secure. And if I'm in risk at falling, no one should stop me from taking a walk. I decide if I want to take the risk. No system should ever decide. If I die on a bicycle because I get too old, we have no mountain, so I cannot fall off a mountain, but I can drive into the sea. That's my choice. No one should ever take that choice for me. So the question is...
Which of the three bikes is least likely to drive you?
The fast one.
So if we put a tax on that, then
we tax everything. We even tax. I think that's quite a strange thing to do, but we do that in Denmark. It's so funny. We love paying tax.
Patricia, I think you have something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted, because I heard in one of the previous panels that changing behaviors is one of the most difficult things to do. So it goes with my co-panelists here. I agree. Like it's forcing people to do something is very, very difficult. So as long as you don't see the why, why would you do that? It's good luck.
But it's about the why. I think that's where you really nail it, Patricia, because it is about the why. If we understand the why, we can work with the motivation. We take our choices based on, is this better for me to do this or not? So I'm sorry, when I decide to smoke, it's because it's more fun than not doing it. I can go outside with people, and when you go outside with people, you get the real truth, It's always been done. It's more fun. We've done that study, and it's more fun to smoke, we know that. So it's always the why. So there is a balance between when you actually change.
Great. Okay, I love this conversation, but I'm going to make us shift gears a little bit. So we started that by asking, low tech, and okay, social determinants aren't all low tech, but it led us to the social aspects. I'm now going to switch gears and ask you about the high tech, right? There's all sorts of stuff out there, right? I'm sure at Vitalis Bay there were people, thinking about gene therapy. We already talked about full body scan, MRI, and the kind of data sets that you can build around that and analyze with AI. What are your favorite things that are on the horizon in high tech that can really move the needle on how we age and including, not just health span, but also lifespan?
I guess I'll take that first. So much is happening in the space, despite the lack of funding. Right now, it feels like it's unclear which category is going to be the first to solve aging. But a few categories that are interesting: epigenetic reprogramming, gene therapy is another one.
She just mentioned what my company works on, so that's why I'm smiling.
I mean, in California, it's the most funded and most talent attracting category. You have, you know, companies like New Limit. You have Altos Lab. It's beyond hype. I feel like a lot of great talent is going into the industry, and because the biotech industry had a little bit of a slump and it felt very difficult for longevity companies to be funded. But this new era, and also with AI enabled, there is a new appetite for more funding going into the space, which is really exciting.
Is that coming from traditional biotech investors or from high-tech investors or?
High-tech investors, high net worth individuals, billionaires, yeah, who really see the opportunity. I think the tide, it feels like it's changing, and it's because there has been more scientific progress that's been made in the past 10 years that feels like there's going to be promising results that are going to come up. There's 40 clinical trials that are longevity-related drugs that are in the FDA process. So even though there's 0 drugs that are approved, it feels close. I'm also just excited about how AI players are entering the space. So with companies like Retro Biosciences, funded fully originally by Sam Altman from OpenAI, the way the companies operate are so different from traditional biotech companies in that they're coming in with a very Silicon Valley approach, speed, experiment, and explosive valuations and fundraisers as well. This is an area that I'm looking at mostly because it feels like it's an area that is completely different in terms of the speed of discovery that we haven't seen in the past. And that's when we were at Vitalis Bay, there was a constant kind of disagreement between folks who've been in the longevity space for decades and new players in the space that are coming in from an AI lens. But that was the whole purpose of Vitalis Bay. Can we bring these people together and find out a way to converge? So those are the areas I'm excited about.
I think Dr. Kutsu Sensei before talked about robots from Japan. And when we talk about high tech, for me, social robots coming out of Japan, like the Lovot for me is like, wow, that's taking the social, you know, the work with the social scene to the next level. And of course, it's also sort of, in Denmark, it's quite a discussion. Can we use technology to find loneliness? Because it's sort of a paradox in many people's mind. But I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Because loneliness is the worst thing we can feel in the world. So if we feel lonely, it cannot be worse. It cannot be worse. And we also know for a fact that it enhances all other diseases. So it's really terrible. So if we can use technology with a kawaii strategy to actually make people, you know, enable them to come out of their life and out of their homes and into society again with technology, or bring emotions between technology and people, I'm all in. I'm all in. I think the alternative is terrible.
I definitely like AI as a high tech. Yeah, that can be applied for everything, and we should apply for that, right? Yeah. So to solve the problem of loneliness as well. And anyway, so AI have like a kind of double sword. So it can be very dangerous, or that can be opportunity. So we need to how to utilize AI in a proper way to, you know, achieve the healthy longevity. So anyway, we have to, you know, make AI as a good partners, as well. And maybe also, that's it,
But so, you know, on this point around loneliness, there was a great study done at the Veterans Affairs in the U.S. about a year and a half ago, where it was an observational study of the eight things that make you live longer or shorter. And the effect of loneliness was as big as the effect of smoking, you know, which you're not surprised to see smoking on the list. You know, and so going back to your earlier conversation around how you like to hang out outside while smoking, maybe you're getting, you know, some offset there. I would not advocate smoking, but you know, there is a value to ensuring you have social connections.
That's exactly the point. There is always a price to pay and something to gain in every action.
Patricia, any thoughts on this?
Like you're talking about social isolation and getting outside. One thing that, in terms of a big step in your life when you're aging is losing your driving license. It's one of the biggest loss you can have, and at that point, when you lose your driving license, it is being proven that you kind of enter that more, you're becoming more isolated, and self-driving cars is something that, in my opinion, is very
Who
interesting.
here has taken a self-driving car? Just raise your hand if you've been in one. Okay, there's a few. Anyone on the stage? You must. I mean, you live in the Bay Area. Okay, yeah. Well, tell us about it. What is it like?
I mean, it's the future. It really is, and I'm excited that it's coming to Japan. And I agree. I'm actually all for walkable cities, and also looking at the remote areas of Japan where there's real crisis of, if you can't drive, you can't go anywhere and do anything, and your vitalness and liveliness depends on that. So I think it's so positive for society. And I was thinking also, just to go back to the high-tech question, I think there's this feeling that longevity and high-tech innovations it's so distant from our day-to-day lives, and it's not so relevant for everybody. It might just be for the billionaires and the high net worth individuals. But one of the areas I was really excited about looking into the space was in the reproductive space. So there are companies and practices today that are working on, for example, ending menopause for women. And this is technology that was initially used for cancer patients. So before you go into chemotherapy, your patients, you'd basically take out a tissue of your ovarian tissue, cryopreserve it, and bring it back into your body after the therapy and have a healthy birthing child. And this technology that was originally for cancer patients is now being adopted for healthy women to delay or end menopause. And so these are just kind of mind-blowing technologies that are just coming out. And that really made me excited that it is happening right now. I think another example that's extremely controversial, but I think is highly relevant, is gene selection. So in the IVF process, you can actually, if you're a disease holder in your family, you may be worried that your child may carry out the disease. And now there's a predictive tests that are available at the IVF clinics where you can choose the embryos that do not have those traits. And so, again, there's a lot of issues and that I'm bringing here because this is an interesting panel to bring this to. But when you think about the future generations' health and longevity and well-being, this is pretty game-changing that you can have your kids not have these diseases. It's already addressable. Okay, this is going to start a...
No. Yeah, of course, we can have the conversation, but it's a no for me. It's a no for me. I think. Okay, I feel old now because for me that's like designing life. I would like to design environment. I would like to design choices. I would like to design behavior, but I will not design life. That's where it stops for me. But who am I to say?
These are questions that are
That's right. This is a conversation we have with ethicists and researchers. Right. That was the purpose of Vitalist Bay. Right. Yeah.
Patricia, I want to make sure you got to finish your point because I did interrupt you on the self-driving cars, and I wanted to make sure you had. Yeah, okay, perfect.
Just another thing related to the self-driving car. Another one is communication technology, or like, for example, metaverse technologies. So that is quite a good opportunity for those who are not good at communicating with real persons, right? Yeah, so actually it's now in Japan, many young generations living in the metaverse hours in a day. Yeah, but that also provides a new opportunity for them to make another self, like a avatar. And for example, that is good for example, like how to say, like gender identity mismatch. So they may change the other gender avatar for yourself and enjoy your another life in the metaverse. And actually, some Japanese local municipality government are providing those services already during the time of COVID-19, and you can interact with many people in the virtual situations. That opened a new opportunity for new way of socializing and a new way of designing your life in other universe, right? Yeah, so I think that have lots of opportunities. Of course, that's
Especially
how
as right now, I'm sure that was at a computer terminal. The interface is a little bit clunky, but imagine as it becomes more and more immersive and it becomes more like a virtual reality, it could be very powerful for folks, but also very, very dangerous, right? So there's a balance.
That's of course, every new technology have two-sided.
Yeah. So we've raised some sensitive issues. There's a larger issue also around equity, which Naoki, you may be positioned to kind of lead us off on. Ria, you sort of teed it up. You said some of the investors in this space are billionaires. Maybe that's out of philanthropy. Maybe it's out of self-interest. How do we ensure that these solutions are going to be equitably available? I mean, on the one hand, there's an argument that some of these interventions are very early stage prevention. Prevention is not, there's a saying in the U.S., which hopefully will translate, an ounce of prevention, a small, gram of prevention is worth a pound of cure, is worth a kilogram of cure. So maybe it's actually easier to democratize and ensure equitable access to some of these technologies, which are going to be earlier focused prevention interventions. At the same time, maybe they're not. Some of these new technologies start out very high on the cost curve and therefore likely only available to a few, at least in private markets. So how do we manage this and ensure that we get to equitable outcomes without throwing out the baby with the bathwater? I think we want these two new technologies. So just saying no to them isn't a good outcome either. So yeah, well, how do we navigate this? Maybe Naoki, you can start us off.
Yeah, so as a public health researcher, so the low tech that can be available for all people, that should be prioritized. But in the same levels, the innovation investment to the new innovation is quite important, because that history of public health is like that. Always new innovations save billions of people, right? Like vaccinations or the COVID-19 in therapeutics too. Yeah, so this is like a mixture between how to address the current health problems of the world, and then don't ignore the people, marginalized people. And to do so, we need the statistics, right? Who is now in the most vulnerable in the world, and strategically distributes the resources. But also we need to invest for the future. That is like a high-tech innovation part, right? So we don't have any right mixture or packages of this, but we need to keep discussing about that, how much we should invest to the new tech for the future, the investment. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a very, 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 very valid question and very important topic. Prevention is very important. It is critical even for longevity. But if we reserve prevention and preventative technologies to a certain part of the population, then we are missing the mark, right? So even right now, like the smallest of the wearable, not everyone can really afford to buy one. Not everyone can buy an Apple Watch, for example. So then when we say, okay, you can use that watch to monitor your vital signs, you can have this fall detection system in your home. There are like different devices, technologies that are available today for people to to prevent transitions like hospitalization, for example. But and they would be even more needed, and they would be even more valuable for people who are living in like underserved area, and where they have like less access to hospitals, for example, like in rural areas. But they don't. Those people don't necessarily. They cannot necessarily afford those systems. So then we are kind of facing this kind of divide between what we can do and what people can really access. So it is, I think, something that to keep in mind when for technology developers to ensure that the technology is not going to be available only for a certain part of the population, or if it is expensive, then thinking about the model of who is going to pay for that, and to what extent it should be the consumer itself, or it should be like the system that wants people to be able to have access to this type of technology for the well-being of the society.
I think that history it's repeated itself in that anything that is expensive, because innovation is expensive, ultimately comes down in cost with scale. So I'm not as concerned about the inequities. I am concerned that there's not enough funding going into the innovation side, because it's much easier to talk about the here and now. How do we live healthier today? More people are interested in that, but not enough people are interested in investing. And that's where, when you say billionaires, it has a bit of a negative connotation, but I actually mentioned it in a positive light, that they're actually coming in and filling in the gap that I think more state funding should go into the space of innovation to support these researchers and the R&D that ultimately comes down and becomes consumerized. And I think a great example is, Function Health, for example, recently just acquired Ezra, which is a full MRI company. Full body MRIs used to cost, thousands of dollars. And now they're offering it for $550. Still not cheap, but again, like with scale, all of this technology is going to become more accessible and democratized. So, yeah.
No, it's a great point, right? Cars, TVs, things we take for granted now, smartphones, right? They all started out extremely expensive, and they've come down orders of magnitude in cost. Also, the point around thinking this as philanthropy, venture philanthropy, by wealthy individuals. There's tons of data. An economist would say that R&D. So pollution is the kind of classic negative externality, right? When I create pollution, everyone in the world pays for it, and I overproduce as a result. If it's in a pure market situation, so you need systems in place that address that market imperfection. Well, R&D is the classic positive externality. Any invention that you makes other inventions down the road possible, right? The diode is a pretty small invention, but it made the light emitting diode possible, which made the video screen possible, which makes the video call during COVID possible. None of which the original inventor of the diode gets royalties on, because the patent is expired and so on. And so it's underinvested in classically, and that's where venture philanthropy or the state itself can address this by subsidizing research, things like NIH and so on. Peter.
Equality, being a Dane, is like a mental paradox. So equality, the Gini factor in Denmark is extremely important, but the market will win. And I'm really happy you exist in the world, because Danes need to understand that the market and the venture capitalists will invest in the areas where there's money. And healthcare will be a money business. The world's biggest industry is here. So we need all the rich people to come out and invest, so we can get the innovation up and running, so we over time can buy it for everyone. Because being a Dane, I'm of course a socialist. Every Dane is basically a socialist, it's just to the degree of it. But I'm also a capitalist. I'm a social capitalist, which is completely complicated being me right now.
I'm totally confused, but share your pain, right? Okay, we have just 2 minutes left, so I'm going to ask for just closing statements from each of you, 30 seconds each. key things you're taking away from this. I'll start down the end, far end with Rie, and just work out towards Patricia.
Thank you for this really interesting conversation and a lot of insights. I think the key takeaway I have is actually around awareness. You know, regardless of the disagreements and different approaches to tackling healthier longevity, if there was more awareness in the importance of longevity, then there will be more funding. People will feel like it is a moral duty, and it's also an economically beneficial thing to invest in. And so how do we change that awareness around longevity? This is an area that I'd love to continue our conversation and understand how we can tackle so that more people get involved in the industry and we can solve aging.
Naoki?
Yeah. So, yeah, always we should think about the most vulnerable people. So whatever that is the innovation of new technology or the distribution of the existing resources. And also, I think the new social services or companies that is needed right now is to connect the organizations or the arrange those partnered actions to redistributing the resources or the quickly provides the innovations to the most marginalized peoples or those things is like a
That's a great point.
I think
Peter, Patricia, 15 seconds each.
Yeah, I could do mine very short. Collaboration. Please, everyone, collaborate across the world. We all have different strengths. Let's put them into the equation and let's do good together.
And I would say that before solving aging, we should embrace aging and really like build and design with the aging population in mind.
Age gracefully. What a great note to end on. Please join me in thanking our panel.
And let's not forget to thank our wonderful moderator, Mr. Ringel. Thank you very much for that very engaging and inspiring conversations.